Have you ever woken in the quiet of dawn, as the world slowly awakens around you, and felt a subtle ache in your heart? A quiet recognition that no matter how hard you try, life seems to flow relentlessly onward, and the things you hold most dear are often the very ones that slip through your fingers? We relentlessly pursue happiness, success, love, only to be struck by the sobering realization that everything is fragile. Everything is subject to change, capable of dissolving in a single fleeting moment. This feeling, this profound sense of unease, is not unique to you. It is the echo of a deeply human fear, a profound struggle that humanity has carried through millennia: impermanence. We yearn for permanence, for stability, in a world that is ceaselessly in motion. We desperately want things to unfold according to our plans, to conform precisely to our expectations. And when life inevitably deviates, when loss descends, when relationships fray, we are left with a gnawing sense of injustice. Why me? Why must things change? Why can't everything just stay the same? That pain, that raw disappointment, is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it is a testament to a fundamental misconception we have unconsciously embraced, that our well-being is rooted in possession, in control, in clinging. We convince ourselves that if we only hold on tight enough, if we only manage to control enough variables, we can somehow inoculate ourselves against loss. But the profound truth is, it is precisely this attachment, this suffering born from clinging to what cannot endure, that becomes the very chains binding us to pain. Have you ever paused to consider if there might be another way? A path that doesn't demand we fight against the relentless current of life, but instead teaches us how to flow with it. A path that isn't about resignation, but about profound liberation? For thousands of years, the timeless wisdom of Buddhism has whispered a profound secret. Peace is not something you chase externally. It is not a distant destination you must exhaust yourself striving to reach. Instead, it is a gentle awakening within, a quiet realization that everything truly meant for you will find you, when your heart is finally ready to receive. Just as a flower blooms only when touched by the nurturing warmth of the sun, so too does our life unfold. In this journey, we will not seek complex answers or intricate doctrines. Instead, we will delve into ancient parables, simple yet profound metaphors that unveil a powerful truth. Letting go is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It is about unburdening the heart from the suffocating grip of clinging, so we can truly embrace the present moment with openness, with calm, and with an unshakable sense of peace. It is the path to liberation from unseen fears, from the internal tug-of-war that has weighed us down for far too long. Walk with me on this path of inner discovery. Together, we will unravel the mysteries of Buddhist wisdom, learning how to release what does not belong to us, to hold lightly what comes, and to live each moment with deep awareness and quiet joy. For perhaps what you have been searching for all along is not something out there, but a transformative shift in how you perceive the world, a profound liberation from the very prisons you unknowingly constructed within yourself. Now consider a story, an ancient parable, whispered through generations, that speaks directly to this very human struggle. It's a tale that, at first glance, seems simple, yet it holds a profound mirror to our own lives, revealing the subtle ways we create our own burdens. Imagine, if you will, a lone traveler. Their journey led them to the edge of a vast, treacherous river, a river so wide, so swift, that to cross it seemed an impossible feat. The travelers stood on the bank, gazing at the churning waters, a deep yearning in their heart to reach the fertile lands on the other side. This river, in its formidable power, represented every obstacle, every challenge, every seemingly insurmountable barrier that stands between us and our deepest aspirations. With immense resolve, the traveler began to work. Day after day, under the relentless sun, they gathered wood, meticulously shaped planks, and wove sturdy ropes. Each splinter, each ache in their muscles, was a testament to their unwavering determination. They poured their very essence into building a boat, not just any boat, but a vessel strong enough, reliable enough, to carry them safely across the turbulent expanse. This boat became their hope, their singular focus, the embodiment of their desire to overcome. And finally the day came. With a deep breath, the traveler launched their creation into the river. The current tugged, the waves crashed, but the boat, crafted with such care and intention, held firm. Slowly, steadily, stroke by stroke, the traveler navigated the treacherous waters, their eyes fixed on the distant shore. There were moments of doubt, moments when the river seemed to conspire against them, but the boat, their faithful companion, carried them onward. At last, exhausted but triumphant, the traveler reached the opposite bank. The fertile lands stretched before them, inviting and promising. They had done it. The river, once a daunting barrier, was now behind them. The purpose of the boat had been fulfilled. But here, the parable takes a poignant turn. As the traveler stepped onto the solid ground, a strange reluctance settled over them. They looked back at the boat, their creation, their salvation. It had served them so faithfully, carried them through such peril. How could they simply abandon it? A deep sense of attachment, born of gratitude and the sheer effort invested, began to stir. Instead of leaving the boat by the river's edge, the traveler, with a heavy heart and a heavier burden, decided to hoist it onto their shoulders. The boat, once a symbol of liberation, now became a cumbersome weight. With each step inland, the burden grew. The lush landscape, once so inviting, now seemed to mock their struggle. The ground was uneven, the path narrow, and the weight of the boat pressed down, making every movement an agonizing effort. The very thing that had brought them across the river was now preventing them from truly moving forward, from experiencing the freedom of the land they had so desperately sought. This traveler, struggling under the weight of their past success, their past solution, carries a truth that echoes in our own lives. We often find ourselves in similar predicaments, clinging to what once served us, long after its purpose has been fulfilled. This traveler, struggling under the weight of their past success, their past solution, carries a truth that echoes in our own lives. We often find ourselves in similar predicaments, clinging to what once served us, long after its purpose has been fulfilled. The boat, in this profound parable, represents so much more than just a wooden vessel. It is every achievement we refuse to let go of, every past identity we cling to, every relationship we desperately try to resurrect long after it has run its natural course. It is the memory of a golden era, a past triumph, a youthful self we refuse to relinquish. We hoist these things onto our shoulders, not because they are still useful, but because of a deep-seated fear. A fear of the unknown, a fear of emptiness, a profound fear of impermanence. We are taught, implicitly and explicitly, to accumulate, to gather, to hold, to possess. We build careers, amass wealth, cultivate relationships, and construct identities, believing that these external structures will provide us with lasting security and happiness. And for a time they do. They carry us across the turbulent rivers of life, just as the boat carried the traveler. But the fundamental misconception lies in believing that these temporary vessels are meant to be carried indefinitely. The moment we reach the new shore, the moment the purpose of the boat is served, if we choose to carry it forward, it transforms from a tool of liberation into a source of immense suffering. Think of the exhaustion, the chafing pain, the sheer agony of carrying something that no longer serves its function. This is the burden of clinging. It's the constant ache in your shoulders when you refuse to let go of a grudge, the tightness in your chest when you cling to a past version of yourself, the weariness in your spirit when you desperately try to control outcomes that are simply beyond your grasp. Buddhism, with its profound clarity, teaches us that suffering arises not from the things themselves, but from our attachment to them. We crave permanence in a universe defined by constant change. We grasp at wind with a clenched fist, believing that if we just hold on tight enough, we can capture it. But the harder we clench, the more exhausted we become, and the wind, by its very nature, slips through our fingers, leaving us fatigued and frustrated. Consider the magnificent autumn tree. Its leaves, once vibrant green, turn to gold and crimson, then gracefully descend to the ground. The tree does not weep for its loss. It does not rage against the wind or desperately try to reattach each fallen leaf. It understands, with an ancient wisdom, the silent pledge of spring. It trusts the cycle. Similarly, by letting go, we allow something new, something vital, to sprout within us. Think of times in your own life when you have experienced loss, perhaps a cherished possession, a dream that didn't materialize, or even the departure of a loved one. Initially, the pain was almost intolerable, a wound that seemed to consume everything. Yet, gradually, you began to understand that life, in its mysterious way, had made room. It had created a space within you to receive something better, something wiser, something truer. The tragedy, the perceived injustice of the loss, slowly revealed a hidden gift. The thing is, when we are in the throes of loss, we are often too frightened to see the silent gifts that are hidden within the change. We are too focused on what is leaving to see what is arriving. Detachment, in its purest Buddhist sense, does not imply ceasing to love or to care. It implies that you love freely, openly, rather than possessively. It means you take a deep, appreciative sip of the life that is given to you every day, but not to the extent that you hold it so tightly that when it inevitably spills, you also end up breaking your heart with it. It is the wisdom to understand that the purpose of the boat was to cross the river, not to be carried on your back for the rest of your journey. This understanding, this art of letting go, is the first key to unlocking true inner peace. Only when we cease to fight against the transitory nature of life, only then shall we begin to truly receive that which comes to knock at our door. Our hearts will be open, our souls will be free, and the path ahead, once burdened, will feel light and expansive. And so, we arrive at a critical juncture. Having journeyed with the traveler, having felt the profound weight of their attachment, we stand at the precipice of a transformative realization. The very act of clinging, of desperately holding on to what is no longer, or what was never truly ours to keep, is the source of our deepest anguish. It is the burden of clinging that obscures the path forward, that drains our spirit, and that keeps us trapped in a cycle of perceived injustice and unending suffering. But what if the very thing we fear, the act of letting go, is not an ending, but a profound beginning? What if the perceived emptiness that terrifies us is, in fact, the fertile ground for something new, something infinitely more expansive to emerge? This is the moment of enlightenment, the quiet aha, that echoes through the heart when the mind, weary from its struggle, finally softens and opens to a deeper truth. Buddhism, with its ancient, compassionate wisdom, doesn't ask us to deny our pain or to ignore our losses. Instead, it invites us to look at them with unflinching honesty, and then to understand their true nature. The core of this understanding lies in the principle of impermanence. Everything, without exception, is in a constant state of flux. Our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, our relationships, our possessions, they are all fleeting, transient, like clouds drifting across the sky. To crave permanence in this ever-changing dance of existence is to set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment and suffering. The profound solution offered by Buddhist thought is not about becoming indifferent or cold. It is about recognizing that the purpose of the boat was to cross the river, not to be carried indefinitely. Once its function is served, holding on to it becomes an act of self-imposed hardship. This is the essence of detachment, not a severing of connection, but a liberation from the grasping, possessive mind. It is the wisdom to understand that true love is given freely, without the need to control or own. True joy is found in the present moment, without clinging to its fleeting nature. Think again of the magnificent autumn tree. It does not rage against the wind that carries its leaves away. It does not cling to the vibrant greens of summer. It understands, with an ancient, unwavering wisdom, the silent pledge of spring. It trusts the cycle. It knows that in the act of letting go, it creates the necessary space for new life, new growth to emerge. Similarly, when we choose to let go of the burdens of the past, the regrets, the resentments, the unfulfilled expectations, we are not losing a part of ourselves. We are shedding the weight that prevents us from soaring. We are creating an inner space, a sacred void that life, in its infinite generosity, will inevitably fill with something better, something wiser, something more aligned with our truest self. The perceived injustice of loss transforms into a profound act of grace, a hidden gift waiting to be unwrapped. This shift in perspective, this embrace of impermanence, is the very heart of the Buddhist path to peace. It is the realization that our happiness is not dependent on external circumstances remaining static, but on our internal capacity to adapt, to flow, to release. It is the freedom that comes from understanding that the universe is not conspiring against us when things change. It is simply unfolding according to its nature. When we truly grasp this, the chains of attachment begin to loosen. The constant ache in our chest, the weariness in our spirit from fighting against what is, begins to dissipate. We find ourselves standing on solid ground, a ground not built on rigid control, but on the quiet confidence that we are capable of meeting whatever life brings, with an open heart and a resilient spirit. This understanding, this art of letting go, is the first key to unlocking true inner peace. Only when we cease to fight against the transitory nature of life, only then shall we begin to truly receive that which comes to knock at our door. Our hearts will be open, our souls will be free, and the path ahead, once burdened, will feel light and expansive. So we've come to understand that the burden we carry is often self-imposed, a consequence of clinging to what is, by its very nature, impermanent. We've seen that the wisdom of the abandoned boat isn't about apathy, but about liberation. But how does this ancient parable, this profound Buddhist insight, truly apply to the ceaseless currents of our modern lives? How do we weave this understanding into the fabric of our everyday existence, amidst the relentless demands of work, relationships, and societal expectations? In our contemporary world, the boats we cling to are often far more subtle, yet equally heavy. We cling to the illusion of a perfect career, even when it drains our spirit and leaves us hollow. We grasp at the fleeting validation of social media, desperately holding on to likes and comments, believing they define our worth. We cling to relationships that have long ceased to nurture us, fearing the emptiness of solitude more than the slow suffocation of an unfulfilling connection. We cling to past narratives about ourselves. I've always been this way. I can't change. I'm not good enough. Even when these stories limit our growth and keep us trapped. This relentless pursuit of control, this desperate need for things to remain static, is a profound source of suffering. We tell ourselves that if we plan enough, if we work hard enough, if we just try hard enough, we can prevent pain and secure happiness. But life, like the river in our parable, is ever-changing, moving with its own mysterious rhythm. The more tightly we cling to what we cannot control, the opinions of others, the trajectory of the economy, the health of our loved ones, or even our own aging bodies, the more we suffer. This is the wrong view that Buddhism seeks to correct. The mistaken belief that permanence is possible and that our happiness depends on it. But here lies the profound freedom. Buddhism teaches that true peace arrives not when everything is under our command, but when we courageously release the illusion that it ever could be. Letting go doesn't mean giving up or becoming careless. It means recognizing that we can offer our best efforts, we can act with intention and kindness, but the outcomes are never fully ours to dictate. We can love someone deeply, but we cannot make them stay. We can nourish our bodies with healthful food, yet illness may still visit unannounced. We can speak our truth, but we cannot ensure we will be understood. Consider the magnificent autumn tree once more. It doesn't cling to its golden leaves. It doesn't rage against the wind that carries them away. It understands, with an ancient, unwavering wisdom, the silent pledge of spring. It trusts the cycle. It knows that in the act of letting go, it creates the necessary space for new life, new growth to emerge. Similarly, when we choose to let go of the burdens of the past, the regrets, the resentments, the unfulfilled expectations, we are not losing a part of ourselves. We are shedding the weight that prevents us from soaring. We are creating an inner space, a sacred void that life, in its infinite generosity, will inevitably fill with something better, something wiser, something more aligned with our truest self. The perceived injustice of loss transforms into a profound act of grace, a hidden gift waiting to be unwrapped. This shift in perspective, this embrace of impermanence, is the very heart of the Buddhist path to peace. It is the realization that our happiness is not dependent on external circumstances remaining static, but on our internal capacity to adapt, to flow, to release. It is the freedom that comes from understanding that the universe is not conspiring against us when things change. It is simply unfolding according to its nature. When we truly grasp this, the chains of attachment begin to loosen. The constant ache in our chest, the weariness in our spirit from fighting against what is, begins to dissipate. We find ourselves standing on solid ground, a ground not built on rigid control, but on the quiet confidence that we are capable of meeting whatever life brings, with an open heart and a resilient spirit. This understanding, this art of letting go, is the first key to unlocking true inner peace. Only when we cease to fight against the transitory nature of life, only then shall we begin to truly receive that which comes to knock at our door. Our hearts will be open, our souls will be free, and the path ahead, once burdened, will feel light and expansive. And so, we arrive at the close of our journey today. We've traversed the river of attachment, witnessed the profound wisdom from the parable of the abandoned boat, and perhaps, in a moment, you felt the wondrous lightness that comes from letting go of what no longer serves you. Remember this truth, a truth etched into the very essence of existence. Life will always be filled with uncertainty. People will come and go, plans may fall apart, and even our most cherished dreams may change form, shifting like the river's current. This is not a flaw in the universe's design. This is its inherent nature, the ceaseless dance of impermanence. However, amidst this unending flow, there exists within each of us a quiet, sacred space, a sanctuary untouched by the world's noise, by its relentless demands, by its fleeting validations. It is a place of deep peace, of unwavering trust, and of quiet, resilient strength. This inner sanctuary is not something you build. It is something you discover, something you return to, again and again. Every time you choose acceptance over resistance, choosing to flow with the river instead of fighting it, you return to this true home within. Every time you choose compassion over judgment, extending kindness not only to others but, more importantly, to yourself, you deepen your connection to this inner wellspring of peace. And every time you choose presence over anxiety, anchoring yourself in the present moment instead of being swept away by what was or what might be, you reclaim your inherent freedom. If today's teachings have brought you even a flicker of clarity, if the wisdom from the parable of the abandoned boat has resonated in your heart, then imagine the profound transformation that awaits when you truly anchor your life in these timeless truths. Envision the lightness, the joy, the unshakable peace that can blossom when you learn to navigate life's currents with grace, rather than with a clenched fist. What are your thoughts on the lesson from this parable? Have you ever experienced a moment of enlightenment, or a deep insight about life? Please share your story in the comments below. We always look forward to hearing about your inner discoveries. And if there are other Buddhist parables you'd like us to explore in future videos on Buddha's pathway, don't hesitate to let us know.